When you're trying to get in shape, when you're trying to get lean or jacked or strong or just fit, you will fail if you fight the bad feelings. It's not the feelings you need to fight, it's the behaviors. Embrace the feelings and then work on your behaviors. This is the only way you'll find long-term success. Let's talk about what these feelings are and how you can work through the behaviors that they cause.
I like this.
Yeah.
And I like the first one that you have noted right away, because I do think that there's a lot of nuance around it. And I think that we've communicated it different a handful of times. And I think there's sometimes is confusion around these signals or feelings that you're having, and why you have to be careful, because I think sometimes you'll play these mind games with yourself and get yourself in trouble instead of like focusing on the plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, human psychology, what we know, which is pretty well established, is if you have a feeling and you try to deny it or bury it or avoid it, it doesn't go away.
No,
it
comes back louder.
It manifests into all kinds of dysfunctional and strange ways. And we see this a lot. I mean, you see this everywhere, right? You see this with relationships. You see this with parents and their children, and you know, how they raise their kids. But when it comes to health and fitness, this is a big one. And in the whole space, the whole fitness space sometimes rallies around this idea that feelings are like that. There's wrong feelings and then there's right feelings. And if you have the wrong feelings, well, then there's something we need to figure out and fix. Like the first one that I have listed is hunger. I mean, how many diets, how many plans, how many, like, never feel hungry again. You don't worry about hunger. Don't, you know, the enemy with your diet is hunger. And it's like, well, hunger is, it's not something to ignore. It's not a bad feeling. It exists. Now, of course, if you're too hungry, or that can tell you a few different things. But I think people are so afraid of hunger that when it happens, they'll either deny it or they'll try to fight it with hacks and tricks, which I get to an extent. But if you don't embrace it and then, okay, what is this hunger causing? What are the behaviors that I end up engaging in because of the hunger? That's what you need to focus on. And when I figured this out as a trainer, I became far more effective with my clients versus the beginning years as a trainer, where everything I was trying to do is to, like, how do we not ever get hungry again? Like, that's a terrible mistake.
I would even make the argument that a lot of times it's misinterpreted as hunger, and a lot of times it's just cravings or behaviors that you've built, or bad behaviors that you've built around, you know, certain eating. I mean, I know I have my own that I know for sure have. I'll eat a full dinner, and the craving of wanting an ice cream or something afterwards, and I know I'm not hungry. I just ate, you know, but you tell yourself like, oh man, I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry. It's like, no, it's a craving and a habit that I've built around late night snacking and stuff like that. And so, and then also we've talked before about, you know, hunger signals can be a sign of like you're cutting too hard or too much. But the truth is that's a very normal feeling. And I think learning to get comfortable in that is key. I've talked about this too, that, you know, I used to play this game with myself when I that would creep in, and I would tell myself, oh, that's my body switching over to metabolize body fat, you know? And so, you know,
put a positive spin on it.
Right. I could get up and I could give in to this craving of getting some popcorn right now late at night and justify, oh, it's only so many 100 calories, or make a healthy snack, to your point. Or I could sit in this feeling that isn't uncontrollable and isn't crazy, but yeah, maybe a little uncomfortable because it's new feeling to me, knowing that, oh, you know what, I'm metabolizing fat, I'm getting leaner sitting here relaxing.
Well, I think too, to understand between the different signals of hunger or craving, you really have to go through everybody should go through one period of at least, you know, depriving, like having a fast, like a 24-hour fast. I just feel like, you know, if you physically can do that, just from that behavioral aspect of really understanding, you know, when that signal shows up, when you're actually really hungry and like you should, you know, feed yourself, versus like if I'm just seeking out something for comfort or for social reasons or whatever the case.
Yeah, look, there's a spectrum of hunger and there's a normal range. If you are eating less calories or taking in less energy, it's a different way to put it, than you're burning, it is normal. It is natural to have a signal of hunger that is higher than it would be when you're eating as much energy as you're burning, or more energy especially than you're burning. It's totally normal. In fact, if you never felt hungry, something might be wrong with you. So it's a normal feeling. My point with this is it's normal. And what happens when you go from never eating in a deficit, right? Never or almost always eating as much energy as you're burning, or more energy than you're burning. So let's say you really haven't watched your diet for a long time. You're not exercising. You're 30 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight, whatever. Then you decide, I'm going to track my food. I'm going to try and reduce my energy intake through whatever method. And then you start to feel like a stronger hunger signal, of course. And it feels different and foreign to you. Well, yeah, because before you weren't in a caloric deficit, now you are. Yeah. So you embrace it. And so like what you said, Adam, I remember figuring this out for myself. Now I almost never put myself in a calorie deficit growing up because my insecurity was around being too skinny. So I was always stuffing myself. But the first time I really tried to get shredded, I actually had to put myself in a deficit. And then I felt this feeling that was like, huh? Which when I was a kid, if I felt hungry, I would stuff myself beyond, right? So all of a sudden I'm feeling hungry. And what I had to do is, my body's tapping into stored energy. Once I embraced the feeling of being like, I know what this feeling means, then it was not a problem. But if I tried to avoid it, then what ends up happening is it manifests through different ways. So I would have the same communication with my clients. They'd say, I'm feeling a little hungry. And I'd say, okay, well, your protein intake is good. I'd look at all the common things, right? Protein intake's good. We're not too high of a deficit. Well, yeah, you're going to feel a little hunger, and acknowledge it and embrace it. Yeah, I'm hungry. Don't try to avoid it or bury it or deny it. Like, I'm not hungry.
Yeah,
or
face it. Yeah.
Or embrace it. And then what happens is your behaviors are more manageable. If you don't embrace the feeling that is normal, then good luck trying to change your behaviors. Now you're running blind. It's very, very difficult. Cravings also can be quite normal, especially when you're changing your lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Many times cravings are just, anytime you change something that you're used to, your body wants to go back to your comfort. And one of the ways that it does that is it'll ramp up cravings. So you may have more craving. In other words, to give an example, you may often snack or overeat when you're stressed out. That's a common one. Like when I'm really stressed out, I tend to find myself eating foods that are hyperpalatable. And now I'm going to change that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid these foods. I'm going to avoid snacking when I'm stressed out. Well, now your body, your mind, your brain is saying, hey, like what's going on here? I'm used to placating this craving with snacks. Now you're not giving me snacks. I'm going to ramp up this feeling, which is normal. And so you kind of have to embrace it. Like, of course I have cravings. Yeah. Usually when I'm stressed out, I grab candy. This time I'm not. I'm going to have more cravings. In fact, embracing some of these feelings means anticipating you're going to have them in the first place, which actually arms you for this even more. If you know going into it, I'm going to feel hunger, I'm going to feel cravings, then it actually arms you when these feelings pop up so that your behaviors can be much more manageable.
Yeah, I believe it's a lot. It has a kind of a snowball effect too, of like the more wins you stack up with getting comfortable with that, the easier and easier it gets.
Totally.
If you always give into it, then it feels so overwhelming because it always gets you, versus you start to reframe that and look at it like, oh, my body's metabolizing fat right now. I'm getting leaner watching Netflix. This is awesome. And getting comfortable with that, you start to get excited about it and you get better at it and it gets easier and it gets easier. If you give in every single time and have this attitude of like, oh, it's so hard, or it's just so not worth it. It's so not worth it to give up all that for hardly any body fat percentage or hardly any weight on the scale. And so F it type of, if you have that attitude, then yeah, it's always going to get you. But the better you are at reframing it, the better you are at getting comfortable with those feelings and embracing it, the easier it will get.
Totally. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, we have a free guide. It's the benefits of eating whole foods. This gives you a shopping list, what foods are best for proteins, fats, carbohydrates. There's recipe samples. It's all based on real, whole, natural foods, and it's a free guide. It's totally free. You can get it if you go to WholeFoodsGuide.com or by clicking on the link in the description below.
I think too, like it takes a lot of work to build associations with certain foods that benefit you as well, to create those cravings, in a positive way.
Oh, good point.
Which was difficult for me. I remember going through like cruciferous. Thank you.
You got it.
Cruciferous vegetables. Yeah, and so I intentionally started to slowly eat them, but try my best to feel the positive effects of it, energy-wise or digestion-wise. And so just to keep pinning the digestion, and eat it. It started to slowly over time. I go travel, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to get some of these vegetables in order to feel better. I feel like, blocked up. I feel like I'm not really, getting as good a sleep, like all these other things associated with that. And so it started to build up a case for it internally. And I'm like, oh, now I actually have cravings for this food.
Dude, such a great point, Justin. And you just reminded me, like, that was what switched me from not being a big vegetable eater or even liking vegetables and fruit for that matter, was going on a really, really strict diet for an extended period of time where I was in a caloric deficit many, many times, where I finally got to the point where I probably dipped into true hunger multiple times. And when you truly are hungry, it's amazing how those foods start to taste.
Yeah.
They taste way different than when you're always filled up and oversaturated. It's like, and that reignited and changed the relationship that I had with all those food groups. It was something that I was like, repulsed or never wanted. Whereas like, when I actually got into this place where I actually was really hungry because my body was deprived of calories, when I fed it these nutrient dense foods like fruit, vegetables aren't as dense, but they're still give you some nutrients, and you would get that and you go, oh wow, this tastes so much better than when it tastes before. So I think it's, for that reason, another great way to reframe it of like, hey, I'm going through this process knowing that I'm going to help rebuild or change the relationship that I have with these foods that I know are healthy for me, but I don't tend to crave or want very often.
Yeah. Next is lack of motivation. Lack of motivation is normal. But like, how many things have you read? How many things have you seen on social media that make you believe or sell the idea to you that lack of motivation is not normal? Fight it. Oh, you're not motivated? Fix that problem. You're not motivated? Here's... The truth is, you're going to be motivated sometimes, and sometimes you are not. It's not normal to always be motivated all the time for all things. That just doesn't happen. There are going to be times when you're not motivated, and what you have to do is anticipate it and embrace it. So you're just starting your workout plan. It's January. It's a new thing for you. You're probably very motivated. New Year's resolution. Let's make this happen. Well, now 30 or 60 days passes by. That motivation starts to fade. Do you stop? No. And you anticipate it. I know April is going to come around. I'm not going to want to do this as much as I am right now. This is going to feel boring or more boring than it did when I first started. I'm going to wake up and want to stay in bed instead of going to the gym, whereas right now I feel like I want to go to the gym. So I know what's going to happen. I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to look at my behaviors. Otherwise, if I fight this feeling and try to work around it, what'll end up happening is my behaviors will be ruled by it. And I'll end up stopping my workout, which is what happens oftentimes when people lose motivation.
This is why you hear us constantly on the podcast talk about how we kind of talk people down on their commitment to the gym at first. Because most people that are calling in or talking to us or getting started in the gym are highly motivated in that moment of time, and many times will overextend or overreach their commitment to their fitness journey when they don't need to do nearly that much to see positive change and start to build some good habits and behavior. And you're far better off starting off with something that you know you can commit to and build on that then, because right now it works for your schedule. I mean, how many times have you heard that? Like, oh, I have this break with work for the next month, or I've got this thing where I don't have this project going on, and so I've got the time. And so now it's like, well, that's not a good strategy, because you have this moment of time, you have extra time, and so now you're going to go all in on it when eventually you know you're not going to have that time anymore, which means it's going to be that much more difficult to say, no, you're better off when you're the busiest you can be. What is the least amount you have to commit to this, and start with that and build on it.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant when that energy is really condensed and intense, you know.
Totally.
And it's like to be able to draw that out further out and really think from a longer perspective. That's definitely the mature trainer in me that finally figured it out. It's like now conveying that to people kind of getting started. It's a difficult task, but it's something that the conversation needs to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Here's another one. Being self-conscious in this process, and especially when you first get started, is normal. You are focusing on your body. You're focusing on the things you need to change. That means you are going to have feelings of being a bit more self-conscious with how you look, with how you're performing. Oh my God, I can't do this exercise. Oh wow, I'm really aware now of how my clothes fit. I'm really aware now of my lack of fitness, or that I need to lose this weight. That's a normal feeling. It's totally normal because you are placing more of a focus on yourself. So anticipate that, embrace that it's going to happen, so that it doesn't pull the levers behind the scenes. That's when it becomes a big problem. When you're trying to fight it too much or focus too much on it, is when it starts to drive behaviors that aren't so great. But know that it's going to happen. No, look, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to be more aware of the fact that I can't run for 10 minutes, or the fact that I'm doing that exercise. I thought I could lift that much. I can't even lift as much as I thought. Or, man, I'm so sore. I thought that workout was really easy. Normal feelings. Those are normal feelings when you first start on this process.
I would even go as far to say, be careful. You're your worst judge. I mean, we've talked about this also many times. How many times have you seen a client or even yourself tell a story where you look back at a picture 4 or 5 years ago and you're like, man, I was in great shape right there. And then you recall how you felt about yourself at the time because of how self-conscious we are about ourselves. And so I would even go as far as to tell a client, be careful, because you'll even when you're doing good, you'll pick apart how well you're doing. And then that could really start to get in your head and make you start to change behavior based off of how you feel. So I wouldn't trust my feelings in this situation because of those things. I'm going to look at things that are very objective, where it's just like, oh, I was this strong a month ago. This is how strong I am now. I wasn't able to do this. Now I could do that. Yep. Far better judge of your progress and how you're doing on your journey versus yourself, who is constantly
subjectively,
constantly picking yourself apart and finding all the flaws in your physique and your reflection. Be careful, because that is definitely will lead you down a path of bad behaviors.
Totally. Also anticipate this normal feeling. Wanting to escape challenge is very normal. It's a very normal feeling. Anytime we're challenged, we're uncomfortable, there comes a point where we want to run or escape from it. And this can take the form of many things. Like, I'm not working out anymore. I'm going to go off eating in a particular way. I'm going to light up a joint, or, whatever. Like, it's very normal to want to escape the challenge, anticipate it, know that, like, oh, here I am wanting to escape from this feeling. Why am I wanting to escape this? It's uncomfortable. Well, guess what happens in uncomfortable places? Change. And what am I trying to do? I'm trying to change. So let me just stay in this uncomfortable feeling for a little longer. This reminds me of the story I've told many times as an early trainer. And this, of course, repeated so many times with different clients throughout the years. But first time this happened to me, I was a young trainer. I'm training this woman. She's, I don't know, probably in her early 40s. And she's doing a tricep press down. She'd never strength trained before, never exercised before. And I don't remember what rep we were on. And it was appropriate weight. I wasn't training her too hard or anything like that. And she's doing it. And then she suddenly lets go of the bar and the weight stack slams. And she makes this noise. I thought she hurt herself. I said, is everything okay? And she goes, it hurts. And I said, oh my God, your elbow? Like, show me where it hurts. And she pointed to her tricep.
Yeah.
And as we were talking, I realized, like, oh, that's just your muscle burning. Yeah.
That's what you want.
You're not used to that. She's not used to that feeling. Yeah. She wanted to run away and escape from that challenge. And then what dawned on me later on that day, because I kept thinking about that, like, this is because I had worked out for so long as a kid. I'd never really understood that. And then it dawned on me, people who are really experienced, who've been working out for years or playing sports for years, they don't run away from that feeling. They in fact, people who are experienced get that pain more intensely than a beginner, but yet they don't run from it. I've been working out now for years, and feeling that pain, actually, I kind of embrace it and run towards it. But in the beginning, you're going to want to escape. You're going to want to escape all of the challenges that you're going to encounter on this particular journey. Anticipate it. Like, oh, there I am, wanting to run away. So let me just sit in this uncomfortable feeling, because it's what makes me change.
I've been talking about this with my youngest, because I just noticed like a pattern where he will like get really angry and will not want to get up and do what he loves to do and like do these like sports. And I'm realizing it's just because he's scared and he's somewhat fearful of, doing the wrong thing, or he's just he's anxious over it, but doesn't know how to articulate it. And so his answer is to just, disassociate and try to like push back and, not be a part of it. And I'm like, it's trippy to me, but I kind of understand now, where that's coming from and how to address it.
I used to tell my clients, if sexy was easy, everybody would be it. I so I'd say,
that's a 20-year-old trainer.
Right. Embrace the challenge. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have some setbacks. We're going to make some wrong turns. That's part of this process. And if it was easy, everybody would be it. And so I'd let them know that up front. And so when those inevitable challenges arose, they didn't want to just run and disassociate or quit and give up.
Totally.
It was, we were ready for this. We knew it was going to be hard and difficult. That's also what's going to make it so rewarding on the other side. And so having them to focus on that versus thinking that we're going to avoid all these pitfalls and challenges. Instead, we're going to see it.
The challenge is what makes it rewarding.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, so I want to ask you, since we're talking about fitness and nutrition, what was, I know the answer, but what was the number one consideration that you had to take whenever working with your clients on eating a good breakfast? What was the big challenge, big thing that you had to consider?
Similar to the gym, one of the C's.
Yeah, convenience, right?
Convenience.
Yeah. It's the one meal that everybody seems to leave the least amount of time for.
Totally.
They're running out the door, especially if you have kids. Nobody wakes up way before they need to go to
unless
work.
You're a psycho and you wake up early, like just boom, and everything clicks.
Yeah, I mean, it's always about convenience. In fact, this was the first breakfast was the first meal to become hyper-processed in Western societies. It was breakfast cereals that were really the first accepted processed food, because you wake up in the morning and it's like, gotta go to work, gotta get the kids ready, gotta whatever. So convenience being the top one. And then in that, as trainers and coaches, we know that protein and fiber are really important because both of those help control appetite throughout the day, blood sugar throughout the day, which drives behaviors. So that being said, our partner Creature Habit, their high protein oatmeal is one, in my opinion, one of the best nutrition partners that we have, because takes care of all of those.
It's such a great commercial for the topics that you chose to talk about today, because I'm not a fan of oatmeal, but I eat it all the time because of that, because it's convenient, especially Creature's Habit with the high protein. And it's like, that's always the barrier. It's always been the excuse. Oh, I want to sleep in. Oh, I don't have time. And so finding something I can do. And I've never been a fan of oatmeal and the taste of it, but because it is so convenient, it is so good for me, it's so quick and easy, it's become something that I've trained myself to do on a regular basis. And so here's an example of something I don't allow my feelings to drive, oh, I don't like that breakfast. It's like, no, listen, I either skip it or I make a bad choice. I can eat that even if it's not my favorite thing to eat. You
like the result.
No, exactly. And so, and I know how important it is to start the day off in the right direction, because it really sets the tone for everything else.
100%.
It's so hard to make up the rest of the day when you don't get a good start. And so if I don't have the perfect, most best tasting breakfast in the world because I don't have a lot of time, that's something I can do consistently, I can commit to. And so what a great example with what you're talking about
It's the
today.
meal that's always on the run. It's always the rushed meal. So the fact that we have an oatmeal that's 30 grams of protein, it's got healthy fats, probiotics, electrolytes. It's got, what do they have, 7 flavors now? Maple caramel is my favorite one. But, chocolate, apple cinnamon, blueberry banana. Now I'll do 2 packets?
No, not right now. No, not right now.
Oh,
if I was in bulk, if I'm in bulk mode and I'm trying to,
one's 30 grams.
Yeah, one's plenty to get me going. If I was in bulk and increasing calories, then I need to do 2 of them. But one of them is normally pretty good. Yeah. Occasionally I'll do 2, but normally I'm just 1.
Dude, I got to tell you guys about my kid. He cracks me up so much. Like, you heard the term boy energy. You know, where your kids are just okay. I
was
reading
live in the house of it. Yeah,
I was reading. That's right. Your house is all boy energy.
All boy. Even the animals.
Even the animals. I was reading this. Who was I listening to? It was like a child expert. And they were talking about how like little boys can get these bursts of testosterone and get this like wild energy or whatever. And I was under the impression that like boys' testosterone is no different than a little girl's testosterone until they go through puberty. That's actually not true. It's actually still higher.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
And testosterone can cause, like the that kind of dopamine, behaviors or whatever. Anyway, my son just gets these bursts of energy, and we were sitting in the living room, and he's looking at like pictures on my wife's phone. And he just randomly, he's just looking at it, goes, yeah. And he just throws her phone across the room. And it hits the wall. And I see the look on his face. He's like, oh, sorry. Like he had no idea. Yeah.
I just,
I'm like, what happened?
Reacted to it.
I'm like, what happened? He's like, I just got excited. I'm sorry I threw your phone. I can't get mad at the kid, but I'm watching him because I was actually watching him like doing this, he's scrolling through and he's like, yeah. He's just like, oh my God, dude, what's wrong with you, bro?
Poor Jessica, she's got that all day long. I'm sure that happens to her probably at least once a day, every day.
Hope she has a good cover for her phone.
Man, I just got a text this morning. She goes, okay, he can't play with the Nerf guns anymore. We have to put them away. Yeah, because like we constantly have to tell him, don't shoot anybody. Yeah. You could shoot like targets, but don't shoot us. And he remembers until he forgets. Because what he does, he gets excited.
Yeah.
He gets all psyched. And then, next thing you know, I come around the corner. He's like, pa, pa, and he hits me. I'm like, buddy, you can't shoot people with those things.
You have to wonder too, sometimes like, with a kid that's got that at that age and that boy energy is like, because it's almost like he's white. Like,
dude.
You tell him he can't, and it's like, oh God, I want to do that so bad. Would it be better off just not telling him, and you're almost more likely for him to do less of it?
Well, you know what it's like if you have like a really active dog and you don't take your dog outside to run and play and do crazy shit, and your dog chews up your furniture, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault. He needs to run, dude. Yeah. He needs to go out and get dirty. Activity. And so it's like that's what if we're stuck in the house because it's raining, I'll figure out a game where he's running along.
You gotta get more kids over and get the goggles and like have full on wars. That's the only way it solved it for me. Because we went through the same process and we're like every party or like hangout became just like Nerf wars outside. Everybody's outside. Everybody's got goggles. I made sure the parents were cool with it. You guys could shoot it. You self-regulate, because they're not going to get hurt. It's freaking Nerf, but they're going to cry and they're going to complain. Yeah, the goggles is it. Yeah.
Those things fire pretty good though.
Oh yeah. And then it turns into airsoft and then it turns into paintball. And I'm finally through that.
Dude, one pump BB guns.
And then you get that kid who does the 2 pumps. He's got this one Nerf gun. It's got a drum on it with like 6. You could put like 6 bullets on it.
Yeah, dude.
And then some of them are automatic.
They've evolved evolved so much since we were kids.
The whistling huge ones.
What was the first? How about that for a trivia for you guys? I mean, when did Nerf? When did Nerf get started? It happened when we were kids.
Footballs was the big first, right? That was the first one, right?
That was first. And then when did like the guns and the arrows and all this stuff?
That was game changer because
it was.
I didn't have a Nerf gun when I was a kid. Did you guys have them? I don't think they had them when we were kids, right?
Yeah, I remember having slingshots. Doing a lot of damage with those.
I remember being a young teenager and playing with my cousins. In fact, Brett and them. Yeah. So Brett's like, what is he? Almost 8 years younger than me or so, and they had the crossbow one. Oh, and it was like it was a crossbow or a regular bow. I don't remember if it was a crossbow. It was a bow and arrow one that was fun. And so and I think that was kind of the beginning of really seeing. Oh, let's see what it is. 80s.
Oh, so it was
late 80s. Late 80s though. So it was 90. Sharpshooter released
in 91.
Show me the sharpshooter and let's see what the fire darts look like.
We had laser tag guns.
Oh, there's the bow and arrow in 91.
And then we had the water guns.
By the way, I got to ask you guys this about the
Super Soakers.
The Nerf football, because this is what you played at school.
Who owns that? Is that a publicly traded company or is that?
I don't know.
Is it Mattel?
Started in it's Mattel, I believe.
It's got to be Mattel.
Started in 1969.
Yeah. So the Nerf football. This is what everybody had at school because I think the teachers thought it was safe or whatever. Yeah. Who the hell bites that all the time? Do you guys ever see a bite out of the damn Nerf football? Why? Why was always a bite?
It's that one kid that's a little off, dude. He's just like, what are you doing, Mike?
Yeah.
Those were so cool, though. You could send those so far, man.
Remember the one that was like...
whistled?
Yeah, and there was one that had like a corkscrew to it.
Yeah.
That would always, you could always...
Okay,
I like that one.
These are some of the early ones right here?
Yeah, this is sharpshooter.
Oh, I don't remember the sharpshooter.
Bro, they have.
I remember the one on the left right there that you just showed.
They have some now that
probably have 50
that
guns,
are fully
dude.
automatic.
So give me the history on it. So Mattel owns Nerf.
No, Parker Brothers.
Oh, Parker.
Oh, Parker Brothers.
the game company.
Wow. They have Monopoly and Clue,
what a comeback
and also
for them.
Nerf.
Are those like their three big things? Monopoly, Clue, and
No, Parker Brothers does more than that.
They do more than that, but those are.
But yeah, board games were their big start, right?
Monopoly, guaranteed way you get in a fight with your family. Guaranteed.
So
Nobody's ever
interesting.
happy.
Still have
What
a
an
beef. Me and my
interesting,
cousin.
what an interesting trio though, right there.
Yeah.
Nerf, Monopoly, and Clue. Very, very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
All games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, but it's almost like a different group of people you're targeting for each one of those.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to war with each other, I guess. So you still have a beef with your cousins over Monopoly?
Yeah, mainly my one cousin. Yeah, she's just so vindictive, like just very.
She cheats.
Like like I knew she was stealing, dude. Like taking it from the bank, you know. Like, I don't know. We always used to get into it because like for some reason, you know, once you like dominate a certain part of the board, you're like pretty much screwed. Yeah. Like the whole rest of the game, and we would draw it out, and it would go almost into like 1 a.m, you know, kind of crazy time, and it was just melee and fight every time.
It's actually, of all the games, it's one of the better ones that would teach kids generally how you invest and how you use your money. Because I remember figuring out the at first when I was a kid, when I was young, the way I played Monopoly was to save my money. And then I figured out, spend as much as you can buying property. That's how you win.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I'm like, that's not a bad lesson to learn.
Yeah. You get $200, you know, you're trying to figure out like how you can make it through.
Now you have what's his face's game, CASHFLOW.
What's that?
Oh, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, Kiyosaki's game.
Really?
Yeah, for teaching. I mean, that's a game that I'll have Max play. It's like a more sophisticated learning. Like Monopoly's definitely got some lessons like to teach you that it's a great game for sure. It's like the next level to that.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, I have a free guide that teaches you how to lose fat in 3 steps, just 3 steps that will burn the most amount of body fat and help keep it off. This guide is totally free. We're giving it to everybody right now. If you want it, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show. For sure. I'm going to change directions here because we've been getting messages on peptides, but in particular growth hormone releasing peptides. Those seem to be the most popular ones that people ask us questions about. So for people who don't know, nphormones.com is our partners where you can work with peptides, hormone therapy, all that stuff. And whenever we talk about peptides, we'll get messages on like, what about the ones that raise growth hormone? Are they effective? There's different ones. Which one does what? So there's two main ones that I think are the best ones to go with. There's tesamorelin, and then there's one called ibutamoren. And there's a difference between them. Tesamorelin's injected, raises growth hormone. Ibutamoren's a capsule that also raises growth hormone, but ibutamoren will raise your appetite, whereas tesamorelin will not. So one is probably better for fat loss. The other one's probably better.
I would add to that.
bulking.
I noticed a difference sleeping wise on ibutamoren than
Slept
I did.
real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I liked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, man, for someone who's trying to bulk, the increased appetite and the hard sleeping is like a double whammy. That's like when you think about training hard and trying to recover, being able to get good deep sleep, and then also be able to eat the extra calories. I think that's the coolest part that I've noticed when we took that one.
Yeah, and the people will say good strength gains, increased growth hormones, good for skin, fat loss, the whole thing. And then it's in capsule form.
Are we still? I mean, I know we go. I feel like we kind of go waves on the show of talking about peptides. You know, if it's making the news or some big stuff. Are we constantly seeing new ones evolve and come out, or does it seem like they're kind of we've gotten most of what we're going to get out of it, or do you think they're always evolving and changing?
There's so many of them that I just learn more about. I just learned about, like, there's one called SS31. I think maybe Doug, you Google it if I'm not. So SS31.
Well, that sloop one was new for me.
That was new, but I don't think that one's available except through Gray Market.
Gray Market.
But like getting it from a pharmacy, like there's one called SS31, which helps improve mitochondrial function. And what a lot of people are saying is it's helping them with things like chronic fatigue. So people say, man, I'm just tired. I don't know why. I feel kind of, and then they'll take SS31. Oh yeah, there it is right there. It targets the mitochondria and it improves energy production, ATP in the mitochondria. I've used SS31 and I liked it. Yeah, because we have access to all of them, so I use them all.
Did you do it in combination with any sort of mushrooms or anything like that at all? No, nothing like that. Not like psychedelic mushrooms.
I know that.
Okay, I was like, you give me that look, like I
what do you say, bro?
Yeah, nothing about psilocybin. No.
Yeah, it was groovy.
Yeah, it was weird. I saw all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
No, so it's being investigated for mitochondrial diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, cardiovascular diseases, kidney diseases, and then they say it's potential anti-aging therapy. Might have some anti-cancer effects as well. But I've tried it, and I tend to feel more energy as a result from it. But this whole peptide world is so fascinating to me. In fact, I ran into a friend of mine. He's a surgeon, and he was talking about he has some shoulder pain, and I said, "Hey, have you looked into peptides?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Dude." Like he's a medical surgeon. I'm like, so I sent him a couple. I said, look into these because they might help you with your healing and repair. And he's super psyched about it.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Dude, Everett had his first game this weekend, huh?
He did. Yeah. He did really good. It was nerve wracking. Like I've told you guys, I'm probably having a harder time with it than he is. I mean, he's intimidated, because it's a brand new landscape for him. And
he's got older kids that he's playing with, right?
Yeah. So it's 6th grade and these like 8th graders that are like men, like there's this kid, like he could full on like grab rim. And they tried to kind of divide and make the teams a little bit more even. But at the last minute, I guess I got some insight from, some of the other dads and whatnot that used to like coach. And he's like, yeah, but then at the end, they kind of, made some of their own little lottery picks amongst each other.
Teams.
Like, okay, I want this kid, I want this kid. And so there's like 2 super teams, like for sure. Like, and the rest are like little, like substantially little, right? And so Everett's team's in that category. But I think I look at it as a positive because he's learning and he's going to get a lot of playing time because he's really been. Whenever he gets involved in something, this is what I love about him. He obsesses and he finally gets into it. And so he's out there practicing, and he's so hard on himself that the coach is finally picking up on that. And so he actually earned himself. He only started 2 out of the 4 quarters. But through his game, his coach came up and he's like, he's just earned himself another quarter. So he's going to play 3 in the next one. Cause he figured out finally how to like rebound and like aggressively go for the ball. He was kind of unsure with the rules and like how to, swat and go for the ball. And like, he didn't want to make fouls. And I'm just like, just go for it. I don't care. Like, just take him out, like that's coming from me, but he's a little bit more cautious about that. Like doesn't want to do the wrong thing. But he didn't make any points, but got a lot of rebounds, did a lot of really good passes, got some assists. So I was proud of him, dude.
And how does he feel afterwards? Is he like, can you tell he's excited about it? Is he like, so that's cool.
Yeah, he was excited about it. They actually played a team that was a good match. And so it was a really even game the whole time. But the 4th quarter was like wild, dude. It's just wild to see kids, when they start really noticing like, hey, we're going to lose or we're going to win, and it's like, you think it's a nothing game. Right? This is like, a little rec league and whatever. But all of a sudden, like a light switch hits and then you start seeing this intensity. And Everett wasn't in the 4th quarter. And so I'm watching these kids and one of the kids like wasn't getting the calls, like, and it just was kind of stacking up against them. And like, he just started to kind of lash out and he's just like, oh, come on, man, I wasn't out. And, and then he's just like throwing F-bombs. I'm like, ooh, like, I don't know, and then they get into a wrestle and they got to a point where he's like in a shoving match and he shoves this kid like super hard on the ground and they had to call a technical foul and one of the moms gets up and is like, that kid was punching him. And remember, I'm like, hey, he was not punching. They were shoving, like
very
also
normal.
Sit down, like you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it gets aggressive sometimes.
Justin, be careful,
bro. That pisses me off. Like,
I know.
Like, seriously, dude, you're making it worse. Like, no.
It's true.
And no kid ever
get her
wants that
outside.
either. You know what I'm saying?
You don't
Like,
want your mom to
Yeah,
be,
you know,
oh,
yeah.
No, it's embarrassing for everybody.
For all the moms and dads for that matter that do that.
The best thing that parents can do is cheer and nothing else. Oh, coach. That's it.
Let the coaches and the refs
Yes.
handle it.
Yes.
That's it. Anything you do is encouragement.
That's
right? Or else just shh.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. It's very easy.
It always gets me so mad when you see these, like, you know what it feels like to me? Parents trying to live vicariously through their kids.
That's exactly what it is.
It makes me so mad.
It's either that or you have situations where the parents feel they know more than the coach who's coaching.
Yeah.
Which that's probably one of the greatest challenges if you're like, say, a dad who
or they're just scared.
Knows the game really well. And then you've got, because at that level,
of course, you don't have like the best coach.
Yeah, at that level, a lot of these are like volunteer parents, right? It's like they're all at the meeting one day and they're like, hey, who wants to be the basketball coach this year? And they're like, come on, Steve, do it. Oh, I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Fred,
he's just YouTube, you know,
exactly.
figuring it
and
out.
then like the week before, he's got
God.
like his first basketball practice. He's like picking up the books at Barnes and Noble and he's trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Half the time, that's what it is.
And then you're a dad who probably played like, you know, you played college ball or something and you're watching like, what the fuck is going on out there?
I hate it.
But then
Why
I
are we
feel like
running
you should
zone right now? Let's man up.
Yeah, I feel like you should volunteer though if you're that dad. If you're that
100%.
dad and you feel that way, it's
Volunteer,
like, hey,
shut up.
volunteer your time and get in there and help the team.
I hate the yelling or the advice from parents that's terrible. And I don't mean terrible advice like they're telling them to do the wrong thing. It's ignorant advice. Like my daughter played soccer up in San Francisco.
Try harder.
Oh no, it's this. Kick the ball. Kick the ball.
Yeah, go
Come on,
faster.
just kick the ball.
Yeah, those ones are the best.
It's right there. Kick it.
You know, like when I used to do jujitsu, I used to hate that when I would do jujitsu. And you see these
Choke
matches.
him.
Yeah,
Come on.
choke him. Come on, just choke him. What do you think he's trying
Look, his
to do,
neck's
John?
right here.
Yeah,
Choke it.
just punch.
Make the basket. Make the basket.
Yeah. Shoot. Shut up, dude.
That's true. That is the most
it's the
annoying.
worst,
Right?
dude.
Man, I can't.
We took the whole family up to the city because my daughter.
No
played,
shit, Karen. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's soccer. Of course, you're trying to kick the ball. Shut up. We went up to the city to watch my daughter play, and the little ones, my little kids, got to see her play for the first time. It was so.
Was it this
cute.
weekend?
It was this weekend.
Oh, nice.
It was so cute watching them be so excited about their big sister playing. Wait, is she playing? Is she playing? I'm like, she's playing. Yay! And he's like trying to yell, get her attention. It's like
that's so great.
Oh, it's
That's
so
fun.
It's so cute. It's so
cool.
fun.
That's super.
So,
cool.
did you guys watch? I think you did, right, Justin? The Wesley Huff interview with Joe Rogan.
I did. Yeah. Fantastic,
bro.
He's so smart, man.
So he's.
I can't wait to watch it. I didn't watch it.
So he's I didn't know this term before. And again, forgive me because I'm a new Christian, but apologetic is somebody who comes out and basically argues for the evidence for the faith, right? And so their point is to come out and say, no, here's what the history says. Here's what these documents show. Here's the evidence.
And they teach us in like divinity schools. This isn't like common knowledge.
So he's this 33-year-old young man, which has to to me, he seems like one of the smartest, wisest people I've ever heard speak on the subject. Again, I'm new to this, but he's so smart. He's so well versed. He understands different ancient languages: Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek, the intricacies and the nuances. So he went on Joe Rogan
like crazy.
He went on Joe Rogan because Rogan saw a debate between him and Billy Carson.
Billy Carson, yeah.
Okay. So Billy Carson is he an astrophysicist? Is that his
astrophysicist? And then he's sort of like a self-researcher of ancient documents and tablets and whatnot.
So I was a fan of Billy Carson.
Yeah.
Because I would see clips of this guy talking and he would say craziest things.
He makes wild connections and it's like entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, what he brings up.
Yeah.
You guys both knew of him before this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you're into that kind of stuff.
I like him.
You know who he is.
He's fun.
He'll say, oh, the Egyptian text said this, and it may be aliens, and then there's this weird text here that said, and he puts all these connections together and it trips you out. Well, anyway, he gets on a podcast and debates Wesley Huff on essentially the validity of the Bible and whatever, and gets embarrassingly destroyed.
It was rough, man.
It was
really
I felt
rough.
bad for him.
Yeah.
Like there was one point where, and by the way, there's more to the story. So Rogan had him on because Billy Carson got so destroyed so badly that Rogan wanted Wesley Huff on his show. I guess Billy Carson sent a cease and desist letter to the guy who did the podcast where he debated Wesley Huff. He said, "Don't show this."
And they're like family friends, and like their kids hang out and wives and all that. And this like totally fractured.
Oh, I think it destroyed his. I know it did for me. I don't want to watch him anymore because I realized just how surface level he was on some of his arguments.
Yep.
So there's one point where he comes out and he goes, "Oh, the Sinai Bible, which predates the King James Bible, says that Jesus was never crucified. This, that, and the other." And you can see Wesley Huff very polite. He's like, "Could you be talking about the Sinaitus?"
He reaches back.
Yeah,
Codex.
You mean Codex Sinaiticus?
Right
and the guy's, "I think so."
Like,
and he looked it up,
yeah.
and he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Oh, you mean this?" And he turns around. He's got it on his bookshelf.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out, and he's like, "That's weird you say that because it reads."
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same book. Like he was like reiterating that.
I mean, I only saw
giving
parts
him the
of it,
benefit
but
of the
I
doubt.
did see that. That's where, and he's like, so in chapter 13, where he's
He goes,
like,
"Actually
he's like
reads-
referencing pages.
It's identical to the to the New King James Bible in terms of what, and then he comes out. Billy Carson tries to like save himself. He goes, "Oh, it was the Gospel of Barnabas," and he goes, "Barnabas." He goes, "That's interesting." And he comes out and says, "That's a well-known forgery." And he goes through historically.
Yeah.
I mean, and Billy Carson just got destroyed.
Lots of literature that's been forged over the years. That's the thing. If you're not an expert, it's crazy, man. Like I could get sucked in because it's so interesting.
If you don't know, the other guy
I don't know
sounds like he
the
knows
context. Yeah.
Not only that,
assume they know the context ahead of time.
You're also talking about things hundreds of years ago that was, thousands of years ago that's written, and you're like, the difference of one being written 100 years before, 100 years after makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it's not just that; it's also you need to know the language and the nuances of what they say.
Sure.
Here's something that I learned that's a trip that Wesley Huff communicated that this is well established. I didn't know this. So before the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, the oldest copy of the Old Testament went to, I think, early Middle Ages, if I'm not mistaken. So like the book of Isaiah, which prophesizes all these different things, the oldest copy we had was written during the Middle Ages. And the criticisms of the book of Isaiah was, oh, well, those prophecies were written after the fact. Like we have a document that was written after they happened. That's why it seems so accurate, because someone wrote about after they found out, after they saw these things happen. The Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a copy of the book of Isaiah that predates it 1,000 years. Okay, so 1,000 years before.
That was the one that was identical, right? The text.
It was word for word identical to the one that was. In other words, no printing press, no photocopy machine, no nothing.
Yeah.
Word for word,
never
exactly the
happens.
same 1,000 years before, and then the one that had. How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's wild.
Blew my absolute mind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that he talks about. So if you're into that kind of stuff.
Very fascinating.
But so far, I was reading this article on it. They're saying that because of that Rogan episode, he's probably the most viewed apologetic in history now.
Yeah,
It's gone so viral.
The power of Rogan these days.
Oh
I
my
know,
God.
I
He's
know.
such a cultural
He's
force.
a beast.
Big time, dude.
Big time cultural force.
I mean, I don't even know the old numbers. Did you see the new documentary that's on, oh my God, he's slipping my name right now. He was battling Oprah forever for the.
Springer, I did. I watched.
Did you watch it?
Not all
Wait,
of
a
it.
documentary
most
of
of
Jerry
it.
Springer?
Yes.
It's
worth a watch for sure.
Is it really?
Yes, definitely worth a watch. I'm like halfway through it right now. I'm not all the way through. I think it's like 4 episodes or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
I think
remember
I
how
watched
many
the
are in there,
first.
but I've watched a couple of them already so far. The reason why I brought it up was because everybody spoke of Oprah as like untouchable.
Yeah.
Like she was just in a whole
Talk show host.
Yeah. It was
it's like 114 million versus their like 4 or 5 million.
Yeah. Everyone else was fighting between like 1 and 4, and she's like 14 or something like that. Like it's like everyone's like fighting for second, and Jerry Springer overthrew her. Like, so that's like crazy to think that someone like that did that. But anyways, I was just thinking about where Oprah is on a viewership standpoint and how that relates to Joe Rogan's pool. And is peak Oprah smaller than what Rogan is right now, or was she still bigger at that point? Any idea? Have you heard any comparisons?
That's a good question. Yeah. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I would argue, however, regardless.
I mean, he has a massive advantage because she came up in the time of, you got to watch her at 2 or you got to whatever. Yeah, network TV, where he came up in streaming. And so it's like you can catch your Rogan episode any time of the day, anytime you want.
Also-
Her influence was substantial in terms of book launch. And I remember her like also having a part of that. Like anytime it was Oprah's book club, like you knew that book was
game over.
Stratosphere.
Well, you mean that, that was the huge thing for all these companies. They figured that out. I don't remember what year they figured that out. And that became a thing where, remember, she used to give away cars to the whole audience. And
Oh, right.
like any brand she gave away
would blow up
afterwards. And so these companies were just fighting to give her stuff. Like, talk about the influence and power of that.
Now, I would argue, so advertisers have talked about this for a long time, but culturally, the demographic that has some of the strongest influence culturally are young men. Young men, 20s, 30s. If you influence them, it tends to shape and shift.
What is the why? Because that's interesting.
That's a good question.
Because women are the buyers.
Yeah,
they are.
And most men will do whatever a woman says.
Yeah.
So
they influence the health of the household.
Why is the young man so influential?
I don't know. There's lots of arguments around this. For example, like one of them is the if a father follows a particular faith, the odds that the children will is like 75%. If it's the mom and not the father, it's far less. I don't know if it's a leadership thing. I don't know if it's a whatever. You can make all kind of arguments. But I do know that when you capture young men and influence them, it's a very powerful force. Rogan is extremely influential with young men. So I would argue that he's a stronger cultural force if you're looking at the shift, shifting attitudes and stuff like that.
Did you look up numbers at all, Doug? What do you got?
Yeah, so she had about 55 million views per week, and Rogan has about 11 million listeners per episode.
Per episode. He
Per
does
episode.
3 per week, right?
Yeah, so that'd be about 33 million.
You know what?
33 to what? Say that again.
55.
Oh, so he's less.
Yeah, but you know what though? One of his episodes is 3 hour long.
Yeah.
Her show was 30 minutes.
No, 1 hour. I think she had a 1 hour. I think
With commercials, you're probably going to cut it down to like 40.
Sure.
You know,
I mean, he's got commercials too, right? So I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I actually thought Rogan would actually, considering he's got the streaming advantage, I thought he would actually be even
there's also
more.
clips of him.
God, think about that for a second, okay? Yeah. In the defense of, even though I'm not a big Oprah fan, but in the defense of her and like her influence, like talk about crazy to be capturing on network television kind of audience.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
nobody came close.
Yeah, that's crazy. You're garnering the attention of people in the middle. They're making time in their day to stop and watch. At that time, Rogan, it's totally different. I mean, you have the luxury of listening to him in your drive. Mm-hmm. I can catch up tomorrow. Oh, I can watch the other half. I mean, it's that convenience factor. I mean, we talked about convenience today, how much that plays such a huge role in people's decision making. So the fact that she didn't even have that leverage and was pulling that kind of an audience is.
Oh yeah,
she was a force. What's even more of a, like, when you watch the fact that Jerry Springer leaped over her is crazy. Yeah, I mean, that just shows you how fucked up we are.
You know what?
Society, bro.
The lowest common denominator of entertainment.
Do you remember when it? Do you guys remember? Like, I remembered the trajectory of it. Like, I remember seeing it.
KKK guys fighting each other.
It started out with normal shit.
I remember so much of that. I remember when it started kind of normal. Yeah, actually went back in the documentary and showed me clips of what I didn't even definitely didn't see that. Like, it started off as like trying to be like an Oprah show.
It was a normal talk show.
Very normal.
And then it turned into I'm sleeping with my
Phil
best friend's sister.
Donahue and all the other ones. And some of them went to was it Maury Povich where he did the results of
you are not the father.
That was his thing. And then it took him.
It was so crazy that so another thing the documentary reveals is that it is not staged. Like, it was those.
Remember that big.
But they just so what was interesting. It was really interesting with that because they had hype people behind the scenes. So they get the story, but then they bring him in with limos. They treat him real nice, and then they have like their own personal coach, which is like another producer that's like trying to get the best out of them, and then they role play beforehand with them to get them like hyped to tell their story and like really deliver it with dude. And I was like, this is brilliant because it did feel like they were acting on a level like when they came on, but you could tell I didn't know that it was like real.
But you could tell by the punches that it was real.
Yeah.
You could tell by the anger,
right? The emotion was real.
I'm right with you because I thought the same thing. I was like, this has got to be staged because it's like it's going to be a fight. How do you know it's going to be a fight?
It's as staged as you can get without staging it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the brilliance of that, I mean, to feed into that side of us as humans.
It's literally the Roman Coliseum, like gladiator stuff.
But again, here's the argument. Fine, more viewers than Oprah, more influential.
No.
It was trash TV.
So he comes out and he apologizes and admits that he influenced and ruined society. Like you look at all of reality TV today and look at what you see with the.
Oh, you're right.
He gave the permission and the blueprint on how to get views and how to create drama on there. And so all the reality TV going forward has now used that as the blueprint of.
And the mastermind behind it is still proud to this day, even though like people on their show had a fight and then murdered.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the demise of it, right? Was when
someone got murdered.
And this guy's still reflecting on it like it's his masterpiece. Yeah. You know, it's it's pretty nefarious.
Evil. Oh, it's wild, dude. Yeah. It's crazy to think how it's interesting too, because people could point the fingers and say how disgusting and this and that, but it's really a mirror.
Yep.
Yeah, you watch it.
It's really a reflection of us.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's like,
why is it so popular?
Yeah, people watch.
You can talk all the shit you want about him and the producer and all this blah blah blah, but it's like
we're tuning in.
I think it's more interesting the fact that how many of us couldn't look away and wanted to watch it, and what does that say about us? Like more than anything else, I think that's the crazy part. You know,
Doug, I was going to ask you. You've been using the Joy Mode testosterone booster consistently.
Yeah,
and I know your numbers are through the roof. Are you still using it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, what are you feeling from? Because your numbers were high anyway, and they got even higher.
I think the most significant thing I've noticed since my last test was my free testosterone had gone up.
Yes. Do you notice any effects from it?
Is it supposed to do that?
If they have a test booster that raises testosterone, so yes.
Yeah.
Even somebody though like him who's
that's right. So this is what's interesting to me. Normally, if you have an herb or a formula to raise testosterone, the data shows it works on men with low testosterone. If you have high testosterone, well, then it's not going to make a difference. Doug's was high. His numbers are really high now after taking the Joy Mode. So
yeah,
I want to ask if you notice anything.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, and again, I have no numbers to back this up. I wish I would have done like a DEXA scan or something like that. But I was down to like 156, 157 pounds like 3 months ago. I'm like 100, what did I say, 156, 157? I'm at 166 right now.
Well, 10 pounds.
Now,
Stronger,
I swear I put on some muscle.
You look like you did.
Yeah, definitely feel like I put on some muscle. And my pants, a little bit tighter than they were. So I definitely put on some fat. But that much weight, I've never weighed this much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, it would be cool to hear from our audience.
He's out of range with his testosterone.
Well, so that's why. So I'd love to hear from our audience, because I'm sure Doug's not the only person that has got naturally high testosterone that has probably tested this. And so I'd like to hear another case of someone like him. I know the effects on someone who's low.
Yeah.
I mean,
you'll feel it.
Yeah, you'll definitely feel it. Especially like pretty much immediate, right? After, if you consistently low, you take something like Joy Mode, you'll notice a boost relatively quick. But I was also familiar with like, well, if someone's already high, that's kind of negligible, that you don't really notice a difference. So the fact that he sees a difference from it would be interesting to hear from other cases of people who are trying it that are already kind of high too.
Totally.
So.
I have a shout out. I've shouted this person out before, but I'm going to bring it up again. In fact, she was the motivation behind the fit tip in the very beginning about feelings and behaviors. It's Dr. Becky, Good Inside, great content for parents on understanding humans, child psychology, how to raise your kids, why they act the way they do, how to be effective, why they act the way they do.
She's the one with that really good TED Talk.
Yeah, and she's so, she says literally in one of these, I watched a video this morning, all feelings are okay. So this is like as a parent, all your kids' feelings are okay, let them know. It's the behaviors that you focus on, but not the feelings. Don't make your kids feel like their feelings are wrong, because then that results in worse problems. Anyway, she's really, really good. You can find her all over social media. All right, in today's episode, I talk about growth hormone-releasing peptides like ibutamorin, testosterone. We work with a company, mphormones.com. They work with peptides. They also do hormone replacement therapy. This is with real doctors, real pharmacies, no gray market or black market crap. By the way, right now they're having a sale, 25% off tesofensine and semaglutide. Semaglutide is a GLP-1 agonist. It's Ozempic. It's the generic of the Ozempic. Anyway, huge discounts right now. Go to mphormones.com.
Our first caller is Christine from North Carolina.
Hi, Christine.
How you doing, Christine?
Good morning.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're good.
I've been in the fitness industry since I was 18. I am 49. I'll be 50 in 6 months, which is kind of mind blowing at some point for me, because I said it out loud to him, like, oh my gosh, I'm 6 months to 50 years old. This is crazy. My biggest struggle has always been with eating disordered behavior. I was a runner. I was a marathoner. I have done literally every cardio thing that you can possibly imagine. I competed in all sorts of cardiovascular sports. And then I decided one day after a marathon, hey, I'm done. I'm going to do something different. So I then took on the arduous task of a bikini competition. So I've done 2 of those. Right now, I'm just living my life, doing a lifestyle thing. I work for a fitness coaching team part-time. I'm also actually in NASM right now, getting my personal training license and also nutrition coaching certification. So this is my world outside of my actual full-time, my career. But I've always struggled with eating disordered behavior. I am the chronic overtrainer. And every time you guys have someone on, I listen and I'm like, yes, I'm shaking my head like they're overtrained, they're underfed, they're all these things. And then I do the same thing to myself. And I go, well, you know what, though? That's what works for them. That's just not what works for me. I need to train 7 days a week. I need to do all the things. I need to do the cardio. I know I need to eat my protein. I mean, I count macros, obviously. Currently, when I wrote this, I was actually at 120 grams protein, 100 carbs, and 60 fats. However, things have changed so much because I paused after listening, and I can't remember which episode it was, so I apologize for that. Because I was trying to figure out, did I want to buy Muscle Mommy? Did I want to buy Anabolic? Like, what program did I need to buy? And I just pulled the trigger on Muscle Mommy. I started Muscle Mommy in October. I also freaked out only training 3 days a week. I mean, I'm really freaked out about it, but I'm like, nope, just trust the process. I did a slow reverse. And I am actually now at 140 protein, 160 carbs, and still at 60 fats. So to get me there it was tough. I'm 5 foot tall. I've never weighed more than 105 pounds in my entire life. So the scale F's with my head. So I listened to you guys and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to get on the scale from October 1st when I started Muscle Mommy until January 1st when it's done. And then in December, I took advantage of the sale and I purchased Anabolic. But I'm still in a place right now where I'm not seeing the changes to my body that I want to see. I'm thinking to myself, at the time that I wrote this in September, I actually had just had a DEXA scan done. I was 16% body fat, which was thrilling to me because I've always maintained between like 13 and 16. I know you're going to say it's not the right thing for a female, but I'm proud of it. But I just had my DEXA scan done again in the middle of December. And I remind you, I have not gotten on the scale and my body fat percentage went up to 19% and I completely freaked out. So any advice that you can give me at this point? Am I on the right path, the right program, the right nutrition? I have not started Anabolic yet. Today was my last day of Muscle Mommy, and I was going to move into Anabolic. Tomorrow would be a lift day for me. Today was just trigger sessions.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for writing in.
Real quick, what is because I didn't do the math, the breakdown on the macros, what is that?
She went up 60 grams of carbs.
Yeah, I saw that, but what does that equate to calorie wise? What's that put you
calories?
It's an extra 60 plus an extra 20 in protein, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was, yeah.
So it's you went up 320 calories. Okay, so
right now I'm currently, my total calorie intake is 1,600. It's like 1,650.
So you're coming from 13 and you went to 16. Okay.
So now, for a couple things. Number one, people who've been training for a long time, who've made fitness a big part of their life, I love that they're always so proud about telling their age. You open by telling everybody your age, and you obviously look vibrant and healthy and happy. So that's exceptional. I understand the struggle. And the best way I could communicate this, you've listened to us talk about this many times, I'm sure, but maybe this will resonate with you. Fitness, your workouts, it needs to serve you. You should not be serving it. It is not your master, okay? If fitness becomes your master, you are now a slave to fitness. Now, how do you know if you're a slave to it? Well, you freak out if it changes a little bit. You're scared of doing what you know to probably be the healthier thing, which is to increase your calories, reduce your training. And so you have to ask yourself, is this a benefit at this point? Now, you've gotten tremendous benefits from fitness, but at this point, if you're finding yourself as a slave to it, it's causing you more harm than you realize. And the only way you'll know this is if you break out of that. You have to break out of it. going up 300 calories is a great step, but 1,600 calories for someone like you, your activity level,
still low.
Your fitness still very, very low. I would continue to reverse you, and I would stay away from all of the things that cause you, to trigger you to put yourself back in that slave mentality where fitness then becomes your master again. DEXA scan, the scale, all that. I would just avoid that for as long as you possibly could and pay attention to things that are going to serve you better, like strength, energy, sleep. Yeah, let me ask you this. Since bumping your calories and switching to Muscle Mommy, did you notice any improvements in things like energy, strength, anything like that?
I did. The strength thing I'm really aware of because I keep track, and I have for a really long time, keep track of my my training and one of the reasons why I was so frustrated and I moved so quickly to purchase Muscle Mommy is because I was feeling like I was not getting stronger. I was getting weaker. And I always gauge my strength by shoulder presses, which is kind of funny, but I've always done that. And I'm like, when I was training for a bikini competition, I was up at 25 pounds dumbbells. And I was so proud of myself for that. And I kept slipping back, and it was like 25, then it was 20, and I was exhausted. And I'm like, I'm getting back to 25. I don't care what happens. I'm getting back to 25s. So when I started Muscle Mommy in October, I was at 15s, and I was tired and I was so exhausted. And 3 days before New Year's, I pushed 25s for 5 sets of 5.
That's awesome.
So yes,
Yeah,
the
that's
answer
great.
to your question is yes.
Great sign. Great sign. It's telling you you're moving in the right direction. You know, someone too like you, Christine, it's funny, I have a client that's been a long friend of mine named Christine that actually reminds me a lot of you. You guys are actually almost similar build, close in age. And she has a very similar personality. And I'm constantly having to remind her that one, Christine, you look amazing. Two, you have been doing this for so long. You're so knowledgeable of this stuff. You can come and go any way you want. And so there should be no fear of even putting 8% body fat on because you have the tools, the knowledge, and the experience to go right back. So I'm always encouraging her to experiment with that anyways. Like, let's just go, well, I wonder what you feel and look like at 22% body fat. And we're not going to measure along the way, but who cares? Because you know what to do to get back down to 16. You've been there for so long, so many times, that you could totally do all those things again and get right back there if you want to. But why don't we just see and test what you feel like, what you look like, if we just keep going in this direction for another 6 months and see how you feel and then assess. And of course, I've got to do the same thing with her where I pull no more scale, no more comparing yourself right now. Let's just focus on the workouts. Let's just focus on pushing more calories, and then we'll assess later. That would be the advice. The advice would be get rid of and I don't know if the mirror is a thing that does it to you too, and or the scale, but I'm telling you to get rid of those. And I'm telling you, look at what happened when we added 300 calories. Look where your strength is. Let's go get 35-pound dumbbells. Let's go get 35 dumbbell presses. I got you. We'll get there. You just got to trust the process, and we got to continue to feed the body.
I would bet money that you would be able to press the 40-pound dumbbells with more calories. No joke. If you were my client, in fact, I never, so as an experienced trainer, one of the things you don't do is you don't tell a client, I'm going to get you to this right here, because you want to underpromise and overdeliver. Unless you're super, super sure. If you hired me with your experience, like this conversation, you hired me, I would tell you, oh, we'll get you to press 35, 40-pound dumbbells. I feel very confident because of your background and where you're at with as few of calories you've been eating and as much overtraining as you've been doing. Now, you got stronger. How was your energy? Did you notice changes in energy with the change?
I never have an energy issue at all. I mean, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the gym by 4:30 in the morning. I just don't I don't know if that's everyone tells me it's a placebo effect because it's just who I am. I literally don't have an energy issue ever, like Energizer Bunny all the time.
That's good.
As a matter of fact, where I work, they call me the espresso shot. So I just don't.
You're well adapted. You're well adapted.
Yeah.
You've been training for a long time.
I just don't have an energy issue.
Did you
and
notice,
if I do, I'm like, it's hormonal.
Did you notice any other changes besides strength going up?
Not really. I mean, I was looking for the strength, to be quite honest. And then I was really focused on mentally, how did I feel? Because not stepping on a scale for 90 days is a huge thing for someone with past eating disordered behavior. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was in my 20s, I used to get on the scale 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And if it went up, that would reflect on what I would eat the next day or how hard I would train the next day. So, and I've been doing this since I was 17. So this is a long time in the works. And to turn from cardio bunny to lifter over the course of the last 10 years. I did my first bodybuilding show 10 years ago. And the first coach I had, she was amazing. She was like, we're not going to step on the scale and I'm giving you a meal plan and that's what you're going to follow. And you have to just trust the process. She said, but I want you to gain 10 pounds. And I absolutely started to cry. And she's like, you hired me. Like, it's it. We're going. It's go time. And I did. And I got on stage 10 pounds heavier than I was when I met her. So it's definitely been a process where I'll like progress and then I go back to my old ways because it's easy and it's comfortable. Like I know where my comfort level is. I know what my clothes feel like. That's also an indication as well, right? So you put muscle on. I mean, I have a pair of jeans on today that I'm like, oh, these are kind of tight in the thighs. I'm like, there's some progress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah.
I'd like to see you reverse, at least get up to 2,000 calories is what I would like.
At least.
Yeah.
You should be able to, with your fitness level, your strength, how long you've been training, you should be able to comfortably eat 2,300 to 2,500 calories and like maintain the body you want. You can. That is in front of you if you trust this process. If you trust in our knowledge, our experience of what we've been doing, someone like you, I could get up to 2,300 calories in that range and be content, and which gives you all kinds of metabolic flexibility and what you get to choose and eat when you want to.
More than that, just the freedom of not being chained to this low calorie, this fear, right? Like imagine if you were eating 2,300 calories, and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing this and I feel okay. And it's not as scary as I thought. Like imagine what a feeling of freedom that would produce in someone like yourself who's kind of been chained to this for so long. I would like to see you reverse. You do it slow if you want, that's fine. But slowly reverse yourself up, up, up. I'd like to see your fat go up. 60 grams is really low. I would add a little bit of fat to your diet. I think that would make a difference in things like your joints, your hair, your skin, your hormones. But I'd like to see you go up to at least 2,000 calories. MAPS Anabolic is great. I like MAPS Powerlift. I like Strong. I like Symmetry. Those are all great programs for someone like you. And then, I don't know if you do any additional cardio or anything like that. Are you doing anything like that on top of everything?
Yeah, so my trigger session days, I do a walk in the morning, and then on the treadmill, I do a walk in the morning because that's when I do my reading time. And then in the evening, after dinner, I always do a half an hour walk as well. I do outdoor just to get my I need
That's good.
my brain dump. I need my, get rid of my day. So
those are
I'm not doing any running anymore. I'm not doing any cycling. I'm not doing any of that anymore. I am strictly lifting and walking. That's it.
Oh, great.
How many are you around 10,000 steps a day? Where are you at? You're probably there or above, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm 10,000 to 12,000. I actually got rid of my Apple Watch at the beginning of June because it was becoming another addiction.
Yep.
Like every little thing was becoming such an addiction, and I had to literally just remove it all so that I could block out the noise and focus on how I felt, my strengths. I was at that time too, I was feeling like everything that I did was like another little injury. And I mean little injury. I'm almost 50 years old. So, you wake up with an ache and a pain and a whatever, and you're just like, whatever, I'm 50, but I hadn't had that. And so there was like little things. It was like my back would hurt, my lower back would hurt. I'm like, what the hell did I do to my back now? I'm like, all I did was work out yesterday with a weighted vest on. I mean, so I just got rid of all the noise and I just focused on how do I get stronger? How do I feel my optimal best? How do I avoid inflammation? All of these things versus what do I look like? What is the scale saying? This has been a process.
Yeah. No, slowly reverse. What's your experience when you eat? Do you enjoy it or is it like this is fuel?
No, I love it, but I also love it for fuel as well.
Okay.
I mean, when I say I love to cook, I cook every single one of my meals 99% of the time. I am a meal prepper. I'm a food prepper. I love the idea of taking something that is indulgent and amazing and so not great for you and turning into something that can be really delicious and healthy as well. It's like one of the things I've done for years. I do food prep for people all the time. Awesome. Show them how simple it can be to actually be prepared because I do have such a long day. I mean, I get up at 4:00 in the morning. And so, if you're not prepared, you fail epically.
Christine, so when you work with clients, right? You train people and coach people. Yeah. This might help. Let them know what you're about to do. Tell them you're going to reverse diet yourself. Tell them I'm going to stop testing my body fat. This is a struggle for me. It will make you a more effective coach and trainer. but they will also act as your coach and your trainer just through the accountability alone. Like when I would communicate to my clients things that I use the podcast that way now. If you haven't noticed, I'll tell people on the show, you know, or my audience, I'm struggling with this thing, and it's really to make it real and to give me some accountability. Communicate with the clients. Tell them what you're going to do. Slowly reverse diet yourself up to 2,000 calories. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I'm also a big fan too of kind of making peace with the potential outcome that you think would scare you. For example, you already said that going to the 16 was that, like, I'm sure if I said, what about 21% body fat? That probably was, oh my God, 21% body fat.
I'm in the 20s.
But actually make peace with it in a sense of like, I'm going to do an experiment. So this is how I would communicate something like this to my clients and people to hold myself accountable. I'm going to do an experiment and I'm going to continue to reverse diet and allow myself to go all the way into the 20% body fat percentage and see how I look and feel, like intentionally going that direction. I'm going to keep going that, adding calories with the intent that I'm going to get over 20% body, because I know I have the skills to come right back the other direction. But really what I'm doing is I'm making peace with that. I'm probably going to go that high, or I could go that high, but really wanting to go in that direction to see and assess how I feel. Yeah. And I have the skills and tools to go the other direction anytime I want.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's so funny, Beat, that you say that, because I told my husband in October when I wasn't going to step on the scale every day, he said, how long do you think you're going to last? And I said, no, I'm going to do this for 90 days. I am not going to get on the damn scale, I swear. And then I told him I was going down to 3 days a week of training. And he's like, I'll believe it when I see it. I have been with you for 20 years. No way. And I did it. And it's a feat to do only 3 days a week, to actually focus lifting 3 days a week and the full body stuff. I'm like, you know, never really done full body, always been upper body, you know, very traditional bodybuilding splits. And to do it is very different. You know, I went from being a runner when I started training to be a bikini competitor. I literally just cut off running because my coach was like, you cannot run anymore. We have to build some muscle. And I did the same thing then. I told him, I said, okay, I'm done running. He's like, yeah, right, I'll believe it when I see it. So for the last 90 days, I have proven him wrong, because I never want him to be right over me. But on top of it, you know, it's just been a journey for myself to take 90 days. 90 days is a long time for somebody who has always been so focused on just more, better, more, when more is not always better.
How does your husband feel about the changes in your physique and all that stuff through that 90-day process? Has he said anything?
Oh, he definitely has. Yeah. One of the things I think for him, it's been what he's noticed more than just my physique changes is my mood. Because I've had to actually talk myself off the ledge, especially during the holidays. Like, my coping mechanism my entire life when things are stressful is to, exercise. Well, when everything is super stressful, I'm just going to go to the gym another time today, or I'm just going to go for an extra run, or I'm going to get another lifting session in. So to go through the holidays and be with all of these people and be surrounded and not do that was a huge blessing for him, to be able to see, like, holy cow, you're actually really adhering to this program and you're not going to go overboard because you're stressed out. Because my stress mechanism is not to overeat. My stress mechanism is to overexercise. Yep. So I think for him, it's been more than just a physique situation and change. It's been wow, your attitude is changing. And I see that. I know you want to go to the gym right now, but you're not going to. And he knows how hard that is for me.
That's awesome.
Christine, we don't talk about this publicly, but we're actually, and we have been for the last half a year or so, building a trainer team underneath us here at Mind Pump, and we're taking clients on. You obviously don't need it from an education standpoint. I know you know what to do and are very aware, but if from an accountability piece, if that's something you want help with, like, email us and let us know.
I would love that. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. And it's funny because it started for me so young at 16. And you would think that by 50, all these changes I've made along the way, you know, you learn so many lessons, but it is so easy to slip back into old patterns because it is a control, but it's also comfort. There's a comfort, and it's also very interesting to think about the fact that controlling exercise and controlling what you put in your mouth is a comfort. But Sal, you said it so perfectly, and I never thought about it this way, that I actually am a slave to it. Yeah. It's not that comfortable, but for some reason, the chains are comfortable.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. What's that syndrome when there's a Stockholm syndrome? Yep. So, all right. Do you think you could go another 90 days? Can continue reversing? Yeah. All right, we're gonna have you back on.
I'm gonna have Kyle,
and we'll have somebody reach out to you, one of our coaches. But I'm gonna have you back on, so we'll talk to you again in a few months.
We're gonna do this
and see how everything's going.
All right, awesome. Obviously, you guys have my pictures, and I take my pictures every week, so you'll are we saying I'm not photoing either?
I wouldn't.
Like,
Yeah, let's
No,
not. You already
not every
have.
week.
You already have one right now. Let's photo in 90 days.
That's right.
Let's photo in 90
I
days.
took my 2025 January. I took it last week.
Perfect.
And I'm like, all right, I'm starting anabolic. Let's see what happens.
Okay, yeah,
here.
perfect.
All right.
Put that aside. Now let's go for 90 days, and then
There we go.
we'll revisit.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much for everything. You really are making some great changes in the world. I'll tell you, I can't even tell you the amount of people that I send your podcast to. So thank you for everything that you do. And I'll tell you this one last thing. The faith and the Christian background that you guys are not afraid to talk about in a live forum like this makes me so proud to be a fellow Christian, because it's very rare. You guys are real, you are raw, you are honest, you are true. But at the core of who you are, you're just beautiful Christian human beings. And I'm so grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate you. God bless. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Could you make sure that Kyle reaches out to her?
Already done.
Okay.
I can't wait to see what happens. And I mean, she's very
so
self-aware.
knowledgeable already.
Very self-aware of the challenge and the struggle. It's still hard. I struggle with this still to this day, and I get it. I totally get it. But if she does this and goes through it, she's going to feel so free, and she'll see.
I mean,
the fruits of it.
She'll win all the way across. She'll be able to eat more. She's going to look better. She's going to feel better. She'll be stronger.
Yep.
You know, all of it. But it literally is. So whenever I have like this kind of, because we've all admitted body dysmorphia stuff. I mean, I think almost anybody who's into fitness at some point has struggled with some form of it. And what always does or was worked well for me is literally making peace with the worst outcome.
The worst outcome.
Yeah, the worst. What's the worst thing that could happen? I could go up to 25% body fat. So what? I have the skills, the knowledge, the experience, the discipline to go right back. I've proven that.
Yeah.
For 30 years, I've been this fit person. So don't be afraid of that, you know? And in fact, maybe even embrace it as a trainer, as a thing that you're trying to showcase and show other people. It's like, watch, I can add 6% body fat and then I can go back down the other way. So make peace with the scariest, worst outcome and go after it like that. Hit it head on. And then watch what unfolds, because it ends up unfolding as you realize, oh shit, like I feel better. Oh shit, I look better. Oh shit, I'm stronger. And then you become more comfortable with that.
It's funny she mentioned the Christian thing too. I literally got that analogy from the faith about, people make things that are not God their masters. And so I'm glad it resonated.
Our next caller is Austin from Michigan.
Austin, what's up, man?
How you doing,
What's happening,
man?
Austin?
What's up, guys? Hey, I'm very thankful to be on today. My question is, I think, fairly simple. So I am a part-time personal trainer, and I have been doing this for 4 years. So I've been doing it for a little while, and I have a question about, should I go back to school for correctional exercise or physical therapy, or should I jump right into it and try to, manage and find myself in that profession just by kind of doing it naturally?
Do you want to be a physical therapist or do you prefer?
Have you spent a lot of clinical time?
I have never done physical therapy in that setting. The closest thing I've gotten to doing that is correctional exercise in the gym setting, personal training. I've had a couple clients where they've had big surgeries, rotator cuff tears, knee issues, and I have found that is the thing that I think I enjoy the most, teaching and giving people that information.
That's great. So if you want to work in a clinical setting, a hospital, physical therapy is great.
Yep.
Okay.
You'll need a degree.
If you want to be a personal trainer, then there's lots of ways to learn. Like if you want to work in a gym setting, right, or privately. I mean, you could be a private physical therapist too, but privately, then there's lots of resources for correctional exercise. By the way, correctional exercise is so valuable for personal trainers. So if you just want to be a trainer, it's the most valuable skill you could possibly learn. It's more valuable than anything else. It'll apply to more people.
Yeah.
So do you know where you want to go? Do you want to stay kind of in this gym fitness setting, or do you want to work in that kind of clinical hospital, doctor setting?
And are you trying to figure that out?
That is part of what I'm trying to figure out. I have I'd consider it a small clientele. I'm only training like 4 or 5 people currently, but there is opportunity. It's a further drive for me. I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, so I'd have to drive, 45 minutes an hour to get to kind of the a bigger box gym setting like you guys describe, and always recommend clients trainers go to start training. So yeah, I would much prefer to work in the gym setting or like a private setting, I guess, rather than in a physical therapist setting or like a hospital setting.
Okay. Well, we have some incredible resources for you that we can recommend. MAPS Prime Pro, which I'll send to you if you don't have, is going to give you some really good.
Prime.
You have Prime and Prime Pro?
Yeah. So ELDOA,
I have
FRC.
Prime. I've taken quite.
ELDOA and FRC are definitely.
I've taken quite a few clients through your guys' Prime. I hope that you don't mind but I have literally done the wall.
You should.
The windmill tech actually thought that just those things have been more influential and more impactful in my career already than like any of the certifications I have.
That's right.
Okay.
Nice.
So Prime Pro, we'll send you that because that's another level. NASM's correctional exercise certification is exceptional. I love it. And those are two really good places to start. Justin mentioned FRC, ELDOA, also really good courses. Yeah. And then lastly, I think so. You don't want to work in a hospital. You don't want to work in a physical therapy setting. You want to work in gyms or in that kind of environment. I think you would find tremendous value, however, in mentoring under a physical therapist. And the physical therapist can hire you. You get those certifications. You get those whatever. Go work for a physical therapist. Offer your services for free, and just say, I'd like to do whatever just so I can watch and learn from you. Yep. I'm certified in FRC. I have NASM correctional exercise, but I just would love to intern under you. That right there will make you exceptionally good. Like you'll be better than 99%.
You'll have a leg up on anybody. It's too bad you don't live in Illinois. I would have had a great place to recommend for you to do that. Condell Medical Center, I believe, but they had it set up so it's like attached to the hospital, but it has physical therapy, it has exercise physiology, it has like osteopaths, has like all of these like sports doctors. They're all there at this gym collectively to work with patients and clients. Really cool setting, really unique. I don't know if they have anything like that in Michigan, but that would be something too. It might fit you well in terms of like your passion for that. So I agree with Sal though. I think like a mentorship, if that's really the direction you're going, it's going to be invaluable for you to watch and shadow.
Oh, totally. You'll get so much from that. I will give you some personal insight on that. So my best friend and my roommate back when I was in my 20s was a PTA. So he was a physical therapist assistant. I got to go to his clinic all the time and do stuff. And I remember going through the same phase as you where you're getting excited about correctional exercise. I remember right after I got my CES certification and realized quickly how different it was. And what that was is there's a big difference when you have people that are into fitness who get injured and you help them rehab versus people who went to the hospital, had surgery, and they get prescribed to go to. Very, very different. And what I mean by that, because I used to tell him like how much I loved it, and he's like, oh, bro, what you do is so different than what I do. I'm like, what are you talking about? We talk about the same exercise. He's like, yeah, but the people are so different. Yeah. And there's a big, and what I love about what we get to do as trainers is you get motivated people to rehab. And
they're not reluctant. So true, Adam.
And in the clinical setting, it's very different.
Depressing sometimes.
It's sad. It's why he was not motivated about it and excited like I was. I was like, really? Don't you love? He's like, dude, it's not the same. He's like,
there's no buy-in.
Yeah, these people are here because they got prescribed by their doctor to come here, and getting them to do anything and adhere to anything is like so tough. He goes, you get people that are used to working out and exercising that get injured, that are highly motivated to get back, and your knowledge to accelerate that excites them about that. Very, very different. So just a little insight on someone who's kind of going back and forth, because I at one point wanted to be a physical therapist too. Yeah. That was one of the...
I was bored with the clinical setting.
That was one of the tipping points that actually made me decide, I'm going to stay with being a personal trainer, was because I realized that, because I enjoyed that also and went, oh shit, that is a big difference.
That's the three of us all have that in common. All of us at one point want to be physical therapists. I tell you, if you get NASM correctional exercise specialist, if you get that, go find a physical therapist you can work under. Do it for free if you have to. That will make you after a couple years of doing that, you'll be so much better than 99.9% of the personal trainers out there. It'll make you extremely valuable. Like, most of what I know about correctional exercise did not come from certifications. They taught me a lot. I'm not going to say they didn't learn anything from them, but most of what I know was because I had an exceptional physical therapist that worked in my studio, and I was around her for 9 years, and I watched her, and I didn't even intern under her. She worked under me, but I watched her and listened to and I learned so much just from that right there. So that's the biggest, that right there is the best piece of advice I could give you.
You also need to be in our course, Austin, if you're not.
Yeah, I actually just recently picked up a full-time 40-hour-a-week warehouse job around home just to be able to, hopefully put that money into my future. So that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And your guys' course is definitely something that I fully intend on taking. I just haven't had the funds to do it yet. But that was mainly what I wanted to ask, because I felt like going that direction was also a lot cheaper than going back to school for assistant physical therapy or physical therapist.
Oh yeah, it's way less. I mean, again, if you want to work in a hospital,
money a lot sooner. Too.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you could do the sky's the limit when you work as a trainer. Physical therapy is obviously a great career.
Yeah.
If you want to work in a hospital setting, that's great. But if you love the gym, then you don't need to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. The one thing that I mainly wanted to hear, and I figured you guys were going to say that because you had a caller on, I think about a month ago, that asked a very similar question about going back to school or going into personal training and just getting certifications. And you guys pretty much told him the same thing. So I just, I needed to hear it from you guys. And I do feel like that's great advice. So I very much appreciate it. I want to also thank you guys for, you pushed me to get married at a younger age. I'm 25. I'm married already, and I can't wait to have kids. Like I never thought I would have been that person growing up. And now listening to you guys every day and hearing your stories, it doesn't seem easy, but it seems very much worth it. So I appreciate that.
That's so great.
Fantastic,
and it's a journey, but God bless you. That's so good. Good. I'm glad to hear a young man like you making a decision like that. That's great.
Awesome.
All right, Austin.
All right, thank you.
Take care, dude.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you very much.
Sending him Prime Pro, right, Doug?
Yep, Prime Pro.
Also send him the link to the webinar tonight because he should be on that too.
It's funny. It's the three of us all have that in common. Exactly. We all went to that path, and then we all decided I don't like that clinical setting. I mean, if you like it, it's a great career.
Oh, it's super respectable.
It's in demand. It's going to continue to be in demand.
Very effective. It's just
And you can make good money, good consistent money.
Yeah, you can do well.
Work your way up. I mean, that was a big turning point for me. That's why it was an interesting thing to talk about because I clearly remember that day when my best friend and I had that conversation.
That makes so much sense.
And it was so enlightening. I was like, oh my God, I never thought of it like that.
The physical therapist that I had that worked in my studio left the hospital. She had a stable job at the hospital, left because of that.
Yeah.
So she was private in my studio because she's like, I want to work with people who want to work with me.
And it was so great to get that experience and hear that insight because I know how, like, when you think of like the clients that you love to train and the ones you didn't, the ones you never liked training were the ones that were not motivated to even be there. And imagine if most of your clientele is that. I'm like, oh, wow.
You ever get a client?
That would be really discouraging.
You ever have a client, their insurance bought personal training and you train them from that?
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Or like a mom or a dad bought it for someone as a gift or someone's like, those are the worst clients because they have no desire to really be there. They're there because they think they have to be there. And that's just not as inspiring. And that's not me I know that profession's amazing and there's probably somebody who loves it and maybe that's great. But that was definitely enlightening for me when I went through that.
Also, the January special is here. We have 4 workout program bundles: the new to weightlifting bundle, the body transformation bundle, the New Year Extreme Intensity bundle, and the body transformation bundle 2.0. Every single one of those workout program bundles is $300 off retail. It's a massive sale. If you're interested, go to mapsjanuary.com. All right, back to the show.
Our next caller is Dwayne from Ohio.
Dwayne, what's happening?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
So honored to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
Right on.
How can we help you?
I just kind of read my question. In 2017, I started listening to you guys, and honestly, it absolutely changed my life. I struggled most of my life with health issues when it comes to dieting, yo-yo dieting, eating disorders. When I finally started listening to you guys, really getting to the gym and kind of knowing what I was doing and lifting weights, it changed everything. And I had a great transformation. I've kept that on the whole time, a passion for fitness. And so I kind of wanted to get certified. At this time, I'm working at a church. I get certified in 2019, right before all the gyms shut down. Actually got hired as a personal trainer. Then all the gyms shut down before I even got to train anybody. So that was fun. But in 2021, my family and I started a small church just on our own. And so in the process of that, I lost my income because that was for the most of my adult life where my income came from. And so since I did that, I tried to figure out what is the next best thing I could do. I tried being a gym teacher for a year. Yeah, I found out that was not for me. And then right after that, I kind of went through this whole process of how can I transform people in a different way. And so my experience with fitness has transformed my life so much. So right after that, I got certified. I got hired as a personal trainer, actually a nutrition person, kind of with a meal replacement at a gym in Cincinnati. And then I went from there to a fitness manager. And then even though I was getting salary there, I kind of stepped back and went as a personal trainer and a physical therapy rehab assistant, because the rehab guy at the time asked if I'd be his assistant. And so then to make some extra money, I started teaching fitness classes there. And I kind of loved the idea of that because it was kind of guaranteed money. And so I started teaching more of those. Fast forward to today, I'm working at a boot camp. I know I'm working at a boot camp place as a coach and a client coordinator. And I love the clients. I love the idea of they focus on strength days. However, I know at the end of the day, it's a high intensity training. It's not strength training, which is my passion. And I know that's where you guys talk about where the real strength comes in. So I'll say all that to say this. I'm desiring to start something new. It's 2025. It's a brand new year. I've had a desire to start something new to create my own thing. Personal training is my passion. And I also like the freedom to have my own schedule, especially with all the ministry stuff that I want to do. And so I guess my question to you guys is, how do I make that shift? I'm 44, so I'm no spring chicken. I definitely have imposter syndrome. It took me 7 years to start a church. My wife was telling me for 7 years to do this, and I kept putting it off because I guess I didn't have the confidence in myself. So I'm not fast to make those big moves, but all in all, I trust you guys. I love listening to you guys. You guys have proven that you know what you're talking about. And so I just kind of wanted to get some feedback and opinions. I would love to someday have a whole body health business. I have an LLC right now called Mind, Body, and Soul Health. And so I guess, yeah, I'm just trying to get some feedback from you guys to see, at my age, is that something that's worth pursuing? I have a wife who's a teacher. She does make salary. We're not rich by any means. So she makes fun of me because every time I take a new job, I take a pay cut. So I know this would be a hard work. It'd be a pay cut. But I guess I'm trying to get, is it better just to work at a big box gym? Should I try to start my own thing, etc.?
Why did you leave the fitness manager spot? Well, that was a salary job working for a gym. Why'd you leave that?
Well, when I left the job itself, I was not able to do any fitness at all. And so I actually stayed there, but I went to personal training at the time. So I was just training instead of getting salaries. They were taking half the pay. They would kind of feed me some clients. I liked the clients, but the environment itself wasn't very healthy from management.
You know, I gotta say, it's so interesting that you're just the way you're communicating your history and what you want to do. You know, as you know, you listen to the show, I'm a new Christian. And one of the things that I noticed about the church and what has been communicated to me by my friends who work in the church, the pastors, the worship leaders, all that, is just how much fitness and health needs to be communicated effectively to other Christians. How much they struggle with things like obesity, inactivity, eating, foods that aren't good for them, or et cetera. I think there's a huge market need. I think there's a huge need in the Christian community for somebody who can communicate health and fitness to those individuals through, either through scripture or through grace, and the way that it should be communicated. In fact, is very similar to the way we've been communicating it for a long time. I'm reminded of 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. I think in your space, with what you're doing, I think you could train people with that, in combination with that, combine your two passions and be incredibly effective. There's a huge need in that community for. I see it. I see it so much.
It's always been there.
And they're coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you come speak to our worship team? Can you come talk to some of our staff members?" And they have a huge need for it. And I think they're very receptive. I think they're more receptive because they understand the value of their bodies, that it's not their own. I think you can be very effective in that. I think there's a huge, you're being presented an incredible opportunity in my opinion. So I think that's where I would start. Now, from a business perspective, we have a course that I think would help you build that through understanding marketing, understanding how to presentation, and how to be an effective coach. The other thing I'll say is you're doing these classes, these boot camp classes. We're not big fans of classes from a fitness effectiveness standpoint, but they're incredible ways to get personal training clients. When you're teaching a class, it's a very low barrier to enter, low cost way for people to get introduced to fitness. And then from there, you can pull people to hire you one-on-one. In fact, that's the one way that I recommend trainers and coaches use classes. It's like, I don't like them for fitness, but I love them to get new clients to be able to do what's most effective, which is one-on-one. So there's just my thoughts right out the gates as you were talking. I was thinking, there's a huge opportunity here. If you already have a community and you're through your ministry, I bet there's a need there for someone like you who can communicate fitness, who's also a Christian.
Dwayne, of all the things you listed, which one have you done the longest, and how long was it?
In the church realm or just in general?
No. In the fitness world, we're talking business. We're talking about you in fitness and making money in business. Which one? Because you named a bunch of different things that you've done.
Right.
Which one have you done the longest, and how long was that?
So personal training would be the longest, and honestly, one-on-one clients, it's only been about 2 years.
Yeah, I think one of the things you need to do for yourself is to stick with one of the things that you do and see it out a lot further than 2 or 3 years. It takes a long time to be very successful at anything. Very few people
especially in training,
move to a new position, a new job, a new thing, and right away see incredible financial success from it. I think everything that you've listed, I could have found a way to make really good money doing all of them. But you can't do that if you don't stick in it longer than 2 or 3 years. I mean, the first 2 or 3 years is getting your ground,
ramping up,
figuring out what you're doing. Like, you're not going to be good till like 5. You're not going to be great till 7 to 10. I mean, to me, that's what I hear when I hear all the stuff that you're rattling off. And in pursuit of, finding maybe your passion, your love, it's like, well, stick to something to find out if you really love it long enough. It sounds like you kind of bounce from thing to thing or the next idea. And I don't know if that's what your wife would say to you or not, but that's what I'm reading or hearing from you when I hear all the things that you've done in such a short period of time.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's good feedback. And I do love the idea of, I have this vision someday of having some kind of a church service with barbells in the background. So I like the idea of what you're talking about, Sal. Like, that hits home too. But yeah, I appreciate the feedback. I think I kind of need to hear from you guys because I just need somebody to push me.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But
I'm going to be the tough love one and tell you to, because here's what's cool is like any one of those things. Like, so let's say the desired outcome is literally the vision you just sent. I love that. I think that's awesome. You could still have obtained that by becoming great at any one of the things that you did.
Right.
Like that will, you becoming the best boot camp coach teacher in your state will open the door for you to have the church with all the barbells behind it. You becoming the best fitness manager in the region will open the door for you to become that, own your own church with your own barbell. Like, if that's the vision and the goal, it doesn't need to be so aligned where you start getting barbells behind a church and trying to grow like a business around that. No, go become great at whatever it is that you're doing and stick with that until you become great. It'll open the door for the thing that you really want to do deep down. But you got to obtain that first. If you keep bouncing from thing to thing, you never give yourself the opportunity to become great at that.
Yeah. Are you attending our free webinars, Dwayne, on training and coaching?
Yes, and I am. I'm also in the trainer course.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect. All right, and so you must be in our forum, so you can communicate there through us through this process. What Adam's saying is 100%. 100%. You stick with something, and then things will reveal themselves to you. Mm-hmm. As it grows, things will start to reveal themselves. But I really do stand behind what I said. I think the Christian community, there's a huge need for really good, appropriate, proper Christian-based fitness and nutrition help. There's a massive need, and I don't know anybody who's done it well.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the tough love. That's one of the reasons I love you guys.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you very much.
Right on,
You got it, man. Thanks, brother.
Yep.
See
You
ya.
got it.
You don't want to hear what he said.
I didn't want to be the turd to punch bowl there, but I mean,
I was smelling that the whole time too.
Well,
Listen, that's true.
it is true.
Regardless.
It is true.
No matter what.
The four of us didn't land in this dream job, dream position, doing as well as we've all done because we all decided at the same time, podcasting would be a great idea. No, we went and pursued being excellent at a craft or something. And that is what led all of this to happen.
Even when we did this, when we did our reunion episode, it dawned on me that we did this for like 2 years before we ever really made this our job. This was our thing.
Yeah, this wasn't our career
This
yet.
was 2 years of us doing it on the side.
Yes.
And that's after being in fitness for almost 2 decades.
And then by year 3, it's like, we can kind of feed ourselves.
Yeah, we weren't really doing great.
We wouldn't be considered great at it till 5+ years. So to me, it's just like I hear when passionate health fitness people and they're trying all these things and they're in pursuit of something that's gonna, like, this light switch is gonna go off and be like, this is it, this is my passion. No. Meanwhile, never sticking or doing anything long enough to become great at it. It's like those doors aren't gonna open until you do that. And if he would have become the greatest at any one of those like positions,
if he just stayed as a
it would be obvious.
manager,
that vision would evolve, or a better vision would happen.
That's right.
Like,
Totally.
so stick with that, brother.
Move with it.
Our next caller is Jared from North Carolina.
What's up, Jared?
What's going on,
What's
Jared?
happening?
An attic?
Hey guys, how are you? Crazy way to start off 2025.
How can we help you?
Well, I'll just get into my situation real quick. Basically, I was 33 years old about a year and a half ago, and I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which I found a little interesting, given my age and the condition and the health that I was already in. It kind of blindsided me. I was a pretty healthy individual. I always played sports growing up, pretty athletic guy. I was actually living in Mexico at the time, working in the mission field as a missionary, leading sports camps, building houses, working with schools, teaching English, really enjoying life, and came home to visit family. And they noticed that I had really lost a significant amount of weight, which I myself kind of had noticed, but I hadn't really thought much about it. I was just kind of pushing it to the side, thinking doing a lot of physical work, eating a lot of not the most nutritious food, doing a lot of physical labor, just, really thinning out a little bit. But was actually hospitalized for about a week or so. And they did a bunch of tests and told me I had type 1 diabetes. I had lost about 45 pounds. I developed something called peripheral neuropathy, also accompanied with bilateral foot drop. So essentially my feet would drag as I walked. I was using artificial orthotics for a while, used a walker, did some physical therapy, and I started experiencing a lot of pain, especially in the evening from the neuropathy. And I was on some painkillers for a while, some prescription medication, which I wasn't really a big fan of. And that's when I looked into CBD and started using CBD. And that was, I think about a month ago or so, I heard a podcast with you guys talking about the effects of CBD and blood sugar. And that really sparked an interest with me because I had noticed shortly after starting using the CBD, I was getting a lot of low blood sugars, which are really not a good time. It's just, you get really dizzy, you get really faint, you get really weak. And I wasn't sure what was going on, but after hearing that podcast and realizing that maybe CBD has an effect on blood sugars, I realized maybe I was giving myself too much insulin, which I have to do 4 to 5 times daily now. And so my question is, have you guys heard any more research, or do you know anything more about the effects of CBD on glucose? I've recently stopped using CBD just because the expense of it here in North Carolina. It's not as easily accessible, and the stuff that is accessible is rather expensive. And so I haven't been using it as much, and I have noticed that my blood sugar levels haven't been as stable or as low as they had been while using it. So I'm just wondering if there's been any more research that's come out about it. My last A1C, when I was using a 2-month supply of the CBD that I had gotten down to a 6.1, which I was really proud of. Now I think it's closer to a 7. And so I have noticed significant differences in blood sugar levels and my A1C level when using a CBD, which I started initially using only for pain. But if it can help with my blood sugar levels and my A1C getting lower, I would like to continue.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack here, and this is I'm going to go. Remember, I'm a trainer, okay? So I'm going to be speaking based off the stuff that I've read and what I understand from either people we've interviewed or my own research. Two things. First, I'll start here. Have they ruled out any known autoimmune conditions? Developing type 1 diabetes at 33. That would make me think, okay, your immune system attacked your pancreas or some kind of autoimmune issue. Did they roll everything out like MS or anything else?
To my knowledge, they did pretty extensive amount of testing. MS specifically did not come up, I don't believe.
Okay.
But they looked into a few different things, did a few different scans, and nothing else came up. And that was the official diagnosis was type 1 diabetes. So
I'm assuming you did an MRI on the brain and the spine too, correct?
They did not do an MRI, no.
Okay. I would ask just to look and see if there's any signs of any autoimmune issues, common ones.
Doesn't there have to be with someone this young, that fit to get diagnosed with something like that?
But they might not be able to find it. But I would do that, especially with the peripheral neuropathy, the foot drop. I would request testing for autoimmune conditions that affect the central nervous system to look for anything like lesions or anything like that potential. So I would look there. Okay. Now, in regards to cannabinoids, they are being currently researched for their insulin sensitizing effects. CBD in particular and other cannabinoids are being studied as maybe therapies for people with diabetes. There's also interesting data that shows that people who use cannabinoids regularly tend to be leaner than people who don't, and they don't quite know why, but the speculation is that, again, it may have some insulin sensitizing effects. And then lastly, cannabinoids seem to have an immunomodulating effect. So this is why they tend to be popular with people with autoimmune disorders, because it tends to provide relief for people with autoimmune issues because it'll dampen down whatever the autoimmune issue is. So those are just some leads that I'm giving you that I would look into. But I would definitely get tested for autoimmune issues. And then you could look up cannabinoids and autoimmune conditions. You can also look up cannabinoids and insulin sensitivity, and then you'll be able to find lots of studies on that. But I do know that there's some pharmaceutical companies right now who are in trials looking at cannabinoids as potential treatments for diabetes.
Okay. In all transparency, just because I haven't been able to have access to the CBD that I was using, I've started using cannabis, just regular good old cannabis, and I have noticed a little bit of effect with that. Question about that though, is that impacting my gains at all? Is that impacting
that's a good question.
Strength training?
No. So that's a great question. So okay, here's why I don't like cannabis over a cannabinoid like CBD. You can use a very high dose of CBD and not get high. And so it's not going to affect your mental state. THC over time can cause issues with your mental state, things like anxiety, paranoia, loss of motivation. It's all very well established. But THC also has immunomodulating effects and insulin sensitizing effects. All the cannabinoids seem to have this effect. But I like the non-psychoactive ones because they're not psychoactive. So now, if you have a dispensary, I don't know what the laws are there, you can sometimes find cannabis that is low THC, high CBD cannabis, and you can make your own tinctures, your own butters, or you could just, smoke it, which is my least favorite way of, that I would say I would recommend it.
Strains like Harlequin.
Yeah, like those old, that's another thing you could look at. But look at the studies and data on this, but definitely go and request testing, have them see if they'll do an MRI and ask them specifically. I'd like to get tested for autoimmune issues And if they're like what? Just name a couple. MS. Why? Well, here's my symptoms. I'd like to get an MRI on my brain and my spine just to rule it out, because it is interesting that you didn't become type 2, you became type 1, which tells me that your body attacked, your ability to produce insulin.
Which is exactly what one of the specialists that I saw here in North Carolina said. He said it's almost as if something just attacked your pancreas and it was poisoned.
Right.
And this was about a year and a half ago, and it has, praise God, slowly started to get better. I have been able to get a lot of my mobility back, not 100%.
Jared,
but
you're also sparking something else in me. I think you should get tested for
Parasites?
Heavy metal toxins and toxins in general. I know you were in a mission, so you were working somewhere else. You might have been exposed to a toxin. Heavy metal toxicity or environmental toxicities can sometimes or oftentimes present as autoimmune issues, and they can attack different organs of the body. So the reason why you might be slowly getting better might be you're slowly getting rid of a toxin. And heavy metal toxicity tests are pretty easy to do.
Don't you think it'd probably be a good idea for him to go through like Cabral and his team?
Cabral would.
I just feel like that. If you don't have a lot of great resources, the fact that these people didn't send you to do some of the things we're telling you already, I think if you were communicating to our friends, Dr. Cabral and their team, I think they would be definitely checking all these.
Look up medicine specialist.
And you can go online, Jared, and look up symptoms of heavy metal toxicity, can environmental toxins attack the pancreas, or type 1 diabetes due to environmental toxins. Like, Google all of that and see what you find, because it is strange, and it tells me either you had an infection, a virus could do it as well, or some kind of a toxicity or some autoimmune issue that developed, which the root cause, would be oftentimes a mystery, but sometimes we can find out what happened there as well.
Okay. Is that Dr. Stephen Cabral that you guys have referenced?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
A few times on the podcast?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a free forum with their team. It's called MP Holistic Health on Facebook. So you can go in there and communicate, and you can already start asking questions if anybody else knows anything about it. And then more than likely, they'll probably try and set up a consultation with you. But that's the direction I'd be sending you.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Thank you guys for the recommendation. One more quick thing, if you guys have the time for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend, given my mobility is probably going from someone being fairly athletic, fairly active. It's probably about, I'd say about 70, 75% of what it used to be. What program or style of training would you recommend to maybe improve that? Just as far as being able to run a game of basketball or do some hill sprints or something like that I would love to be able to get back to being able to do, but don't have the ability to perform right now.
Oh, Mass 15 Performance.
Yes, performance, exactly.
Yeah, we'll send that to you. Mass 15 Performance.
Yep.
Send it over to you, Jared.
It'd be perfect dose. Yep.
We got you.
15 Performance.
Mm-hmm. Doug will email.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Long-time listener of the show. Love everything you guys are doing. And you guys got me through physical therapy, because that's going from someone who enjoys to get after it in the gym and having to do months of physical therapy. Pretty boring. So lots of podcasts listening to.
I hope you find the root cause of what's going on.
Yeah, I'd love to hear back.
Yeah, report back.
I'd love to, especially if you go through Cabral and start talking to them. I'd love to hear back from you in a couple months.
Yep. And by the way, being exposed to environmental toxins in some of these places that missions are done is not uncommon, because they don't tend to have the same regulations when, with dumping chemicals or with manufacturing, or, when they build or something. So sometimes people come back and it's like, oh my God, you have lead, or something else. So, take a look at all that stuff.
Okay. I definitely will. Thank you guys for the advice.
You got it, man.
All right, Jared.
Thank you.
That's above my pay grade. That's rare. I don't know if I've ever trained somebody
first of all,
in their 30s that
especially
gets
type 1 is to get it late in life.
Frustrating. Yeah. Yes, because it could also be, Doug emailing this, it could also be undiagnosed what's it called? The gluten celiac.
Oh,
that could also cause type
Okay.
1 diabetes when you don't know. You could attack your pancreas.
Yeah, it screams autoimmune to me.
It does. But what makes me upset is if it's accurate what he said, and they didn't do an MRI on his brain and his spine to rule out.
Yeah,
like, what are you
What
doing?
the fuck?
And then heavy metal testing and toxicity testing.
Yeah,
a lot of those
logical.
symptoms. A lot of those symptoms could be, literally something like that. And then you find it. It's like, oh, let's just detox you.
Well, I know like half of it, if you travel anywhere, they test you too for parasites. And,
Yep.
metals and all that. So that's
right.
just like part of the protocol.
That's right. Look, if you love our show, come find us on Instagram. Justin is at Mind Pump Justin. I'm at Mind Pump DeStefano, and Adam is at Mind Pump Adam. All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. 30% body fat. For men, this is way too high. This is actually a bit high for women as well. So in today's episode, we're talking about how you can go from 30 to 10. What is 10% body fat? This is when you have a visible six-pack. Can you go from 30 to 10%? Yes, it's possible, but not if you guess along the way. So we're going to talk about how you can do that in today's episode.
Now, there's a huge range, right, of like body types.
Yes.
Some people can run a little bit heavier or a little bit higher body.